Salute. Chris is fucking killing it. The music game, the tech game, like all this shit. You should take down Big Marker, make a web joint connect, some shit like that. Oh man! All right, so much love, Ishka. Much love, Chris. And thank you guys for coming out. We're gonna have the final words coming from Ian Rasman and Brett Harrelson, and they're gonna be introducing our very special guests to close us down.
Dope.
All right. Hey, this has just been a lot of fun, and we're pretty honored, honestly, to be here representing Normal. I mean, what an OG organization, right? 50 years, really incredible history. So really, I think I know all of us at Los Angeles Normal are just incredibly honored and privileged to be involved in such an OG organization. So we're really honored to represent the people of Los Angeles. And Brett, you want to introduce our special guest coming in?
Keith needs no introduction, but you know what Keith Stroke has done over the years in starting Normal, I can't say enough to him. But with that said, we need to bring in Keith. This is really, without him, none of this would be possible.
And we've got
I met him so long ago, and it's funny now how you're now. You know, I met this guy 30 years ago because I started dating his sister. It's amazing he still talks to me, actually. But and so I knew Keith a long time ago, and then how it comes full circle. Anyway, Ian, awesome all you're doing. Keith, what an honor.
So let's bring Keith in, and also coming in is Eric Altieri, the current leadership at National Normal, which is really the organization that oversees everything. So we're really honored to have Keith and Eric. So let's bring them live now if we can. And Keith and Eric, if you hear us, shout out. As far as I know, it's just you and us, you and me. Can you jump?
Here we go.
Oh, here we go. Somebody's coming in. My phone's going crazy. I don't know what y'all tell me on my phone. Anyway, I see hey, there's Eric. All right, Eric.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Having a good 420 Eve?
We hear you, Eric. Go.
I can't hear you very well.
Don't worry about it. We hear you fine. I'm not saying anything good.
Sure. Firstly, I want to thank LA Normal for having me on and hosting this wonderful event this evening. I'm sure this is not the way most of us thought we'd be celebrating 420 in 2020. But, here we are stuck in our houses, and I'm glad everyone's staying safe and that you're making great use of technology and your network connections to really put together a unique live stream like this. So big thank you to LA Normal, Canna Gather, all the folks out there that really, busted their asses to put this together and make it happen. And I mean, there was a couple hitches in the beginning, but it was great. So once it got up and running, I was glad to see everybody coming on, having a great discussion. And, here on, like in a lot of ways on 420, I was been looking back on kind of, where Normal's been and what it really means to be normal here as we approach our 50th birthday. And at the core of what Normal really is, it's not folks like myself and Keith out here in DC in our offices. It's not really about these powerful lobbyists in suits working for the corporations doing backroom deals. What Normal is really about is grassroots advocacy and volunteers and committed folks like yourselves that wake up every day and organize and advocate and make change happen in their local communities. And from the bottom of my heart, I couldn't be prouder and thank you all enough for what you do. I know that it is hard work. It can be physically and emotionally draining. It can often feel thankless some days when you're having a tough day. But I just want to make sure everyone out there that's watching and that's involved with LA Normal or any of our chapters across the country that are watching, you should never doubt, no matter how hard the work feels, that already the work we've all done together over the past 5 decades has fundamentally and permanently changed the trajectory of this country and changed the lives of millions of Americans. There's now, because of movement for decriminalization and legalization, as we've achieved that in more and more states each year, millions of Americans are now avoiding arrest for simple marijuana possession and consuming a plant we know is objectively safer than alcohol and tobacco. Millions of patients now have access to marijuana and its therapeutic benefits. That's what happens when we've come together and we've stood shoulder to shoulder and we've fought against these unjust laws. It's not always an easy fight, to be sure. Here, there's a bittersweetness to NORML's 50th anniversary. In a lot of ways, we have a lot to be proud of, that a advocacy organization, certainly one ran by a bunch of people who love to smoke weed, has lasted this long and been organized, paid the bills, kept the lights on, and actually impacted real change. But there's also the fact that here we are in 2020 and still 600,000 Americans are being arrested every year for just marijuana possession. So it's easy to forget, certainly if you're out in LA with some wonderful cannabis shops probably around the corner. Here in DC, possession's legal where I am. But still the majority of this country is living under the oppressive regime of prohibition and all the harm that causes to communities, most noteworthy to communities of color, and the racist applications of our marijuana laws. So what we really do need to do moving forward is we have kind of a several fight in our hands as we look from 2020 onward. And I know it's certainly tough now when you see that, marijuana policy, to be honest, at this point in time, here we are in April, not at the top of minds of a lot of our lawmakers, the media. They're obviously in many ways rightfully dealing with the pandemic situation we have. But when we've lasted for 50 years, we've seen crises like these before, and they do always end, and we can always come out the other side stronger, more prepared, and more united to move forward on the policy changes we want to see. So, the first kind of front we have to work on is ending the prohibition of marijuana in those states where it's still a criminal penalty to simply possess marijuana for any reason for an adult. So we need your help, even if you're in California. Make sure you're educating and reaching out to folks in other states using our action tools on norml.org/act to contact legislators. So we need to end that prohibition. We need to expand it to all 50 states have adult legal use. And then we need to really help get there. We need your help to change federal law. And that's where we've seen a lot of exciting developments in the past year. We had the first bill to fully deschedule marijuana be approved out of a congressional committee ever in history. That happened just at the end of 2019. We have a lot of reasons to be hopeful as we continue the fight for federal reform. But it's important to note that just because we legalize marijuana, that is not the end of our fight. And you're really starting to turn that page now in California with your legal industry there. NORML was founded, if Keith was on and perhaps will be coming on after me to talk about it, NORML was founded largely inspired by the work Ralph Nader did on consumer rights. Keith did a lot of work with Ralph Nader in his early career, and he thought we should have a group that represents marijuana consumers. And that's what NORML was founded on, and that's what we still are to this day. We don't represent like industry interests or folks like that we certainly coordinate and work with the industry on changing policy, and they've been incredibly helpful. But we're there to be the voice for the marijuana smoker, the marijuana consumer across this country. So once legalization happens, that's really in a lot of ways where the fight just begins. We need to make sure that taxation rates are fair, that we're not overpaying for quality product. We want to make sure products are safe and tested and we know what's in them. We need to make sure that marijuana consumers are no longer treated like second-class citizens in the workplace through drug testing regimes. We need to make sure that individuals are no longer being punished and threatened by CPS for consuming marijuana if they have children. So we have a whole wide array of those sort of ancillary issues that come into being once there's a legal market to continue to work on that are just as incredibly as important, as well as continuing to push for the full and automatic expungement of criminal records for marijuana possession. Because certainly once marijuana has become legal in your state, you should no longer be saddled with a criminal record for that. And ultimately, while we're here and we've certainly been stalled a bit, we would have probably seen a lot more progress this year if this current pandemic situation didn't happen. It's sidelined a number of initiatives that were in process. It slowed down state legislative work. But looking forward, we will have several states voting on full legalization this year. We will have several states voting on medical marijuana this year. We will add new states to our list of pro-reform states. That means we'll get more allies in Congress from those who represent those states. And we're going to keep pushing forward. The American people are overwhelmingly on our side with this. 68% of all Americans, including majorities of Democrats, independents, and Republicans, support legalizing marijuana. We've won the hearts and minds of the people. We need to take that fight to the politicians and make sure they join us on the right side of history. And it's with the help and because of the hard work that LA Normal does, that Texas Normal does, that anyone who engages with us at a grassroots level does, that's a real possibility. So thank you for all you do. I hope you're all staying very safe this 420 and very high, and take care of yourselves and each other out there, because that's really all we can do right now. So thanks for having me on. And if certainly anyone had any questions or wanted to keep the discussion going, more than willing to just hang around.